I'm Barbara from Androscoggin, and this is my friend Danny.
Hello.
And we are going to demonstrate our next project for Art of Grieving, which is creating a memory mosaic, a mosaic of love. So first I would like to just show what we are going to be using and what people at home should have. So do you want to start over there, and right about here I'll continue. So you start.
Right here I have 6 different trinkets that were something that Grandpa did, or something that he likes to do, or something that I did with him. And you can have 5 to 6 or 10 different trinkets. I don't know what I'm saying.
You're just fine. You're just fine.
But these are the things that I'll be putting into the mosaic.
Okay, and then starting way on the end, what do you have? So we're going to need to have the safety glasses. All right, and you have rubber gloves.
I have my gloves.
And you have
we have water for washing your hands.
Mm-hmm.
We have the canola cooking spray so that way it doesn't stick.
Right, and
we have the water for mixing that into the bag so we can get all this.
Right, and we have sea glass and tiles that are included in the kit. We have a paintbrush from home, which also, if you've been doing this all along, you probably have some of these. We have spoons for mixing, and we have a knife for carving. This comes in the kit. One side is letters, the other side is the last little bits of letters and some numbers. And we have one finished product. So what we did was, here's one that's all finished that we did yesterday to give an example of what it will look like. This is mine, so there's no real memories on it. But now we know the thing works. We have one stepping stone that's already been worked on. Danny and I worked really hard on this a little while ago so that it will be set up and ready to use. We're going to demonstrate now how to mix the plaster of Paris cement. The important thing with the plaster of Paris is you do not want to get that in your eyes or up your nose. So, and you don't want to get it all over your hands either. So, Danny's going to be all armored, all set and ready. The other thing that's important to know when you're working with plaster of Paris or cement is do not put any of it down the sink. You want to make sure that any water that you're using, you have in a bowl off to the side, and you're not going to put any of that into the sink. Okay, you got that?
Yes.
Not in the sink.
Not in the sink.
Okay, so Danny, let's get out the box that has the cement in it. The mess that we're going to be making is why Danny says this is probably one of the most popular things to do. So inside of the kit is just about everything you need. It doesn't include your talent or your memories. Now, what's really cool is this handy little mixing bag. Everything you need to do to mix up your cement is right in here. All right, and we practiced with this already, so we know what we're in for.
Yes.
So you know you need to have your gloves on.
Yep.
Check. All right, and you need to have your glasses on.
Check.
Check.
I will put these on.
Yep, and look very fetching with your wild and crazy hair. Okay.
There we go.
Yeah. Oh, you look like
I'll
a
get my hair out of
professional.
my face.
It looks fantastic. You look like you should be in a rock band or underwater. Okay, so here comes the fun part. We mixed this up with the 2 bags inside of each other just to be extra specially sure not to make a mess, because it did make a mess, didn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. And we tried real hard to get that picked up. And by we, I mean your dad and my daughter. Okay, so, Danny, this is going to be for you to do.
Yes, and
So-
we're going to need half a cup of water.
You're going to need that whole thing, and that is measured out already with 1.5 cups of water.
Okay.
Okay, so you are
A cup
going
and a half,
to,
sorry.
yeah, you're going to pour that in.
So I'll take the top off.
Yep.
And then just pour the whole thing in?
Yep. Okay, and here comes the fun squishy part. And you are going to do that.
So you've gotta squish it until it's like a little bit softer than frosting, right?
Right, right. So you're making mashed potatoes, frosting, sort of both. And this is really, this is the cool part, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Make sure to get all the lumps out.
right. And this stuff is pretty sturdy. It's a little more sturdy than the basic plaster of Paris. So when we're done with this, you have something you can put in your garden. And it'll stand up to weather. Plaster of Paris won't. So, for people at home, could you describe how that feels to you? Do you feel lumps in it?
Yeah, and you want to squish those lumps down so that way they don't get into the mold while you're trying
Right.
to let it dry.
Which we learned the last batch we made.
So that way when you dump it out, you don't have to get all your hands or
Right.
gloves goopy while trying to mush up the lumps that you missed.
Which we learned from the last batch that we made. And then you won't make a great big mess, which we learned from the last batch that we made. So what do you think?
I'm feeling this is pretty good.
Okay, so we have our bag of plaster all mixed. Now the next part is to put on the releasing agent, which is otherwise known as cooking spray, but we're going to call it the releasing agent. Other releasing agents, do you remember what we could use?
Butter.
We could use butter. Anything else we could use?
I forgot.
Armor All. We could use Armor All.
Yes.
We could also use DW40. Anything greasy. So if all you had was oil, you could use that. But we are going to be professionals with our releasing agent.
And just spray this all over it.
Yep. Get on the sides. Yeah, that looks pretty good. What do you think?
I think that looks
Pretty
pretty good.
goopy? Okay, here comes the next fun part, which you are gonna do, and that is, you're gonna pour this in.
Oh, gotta smush it all out. Like
And I
you're
would
making a cake and you're pouring all the batter into
Right. And it's gonna come out like, well, I'm not gonna say, because this is a family show. But it's pretty gross, isn't it, right now? Yeah. And so, as you can see, it's coming out pretty lumpy, just in like goops, but there's no chunks in there.
Yeah.
Because you did a really good job of mixing. You want to get that? Yeah.
Here, could you hold the bottom while I
Yep.
get all this to come down?
Ooh, good job. Nice and messy. Okay, I think we got it. Get that last little bit. And just to be sure, for people at home, it's very important that this bag goes in the trash. Right directly into the trash. It does not stop by the sink. It does not stop by anything that goes down the drain. It goes into the trash. Okay.
All right.
So you have nice messy hands right now. Cool. The next thing that's important to do is you want to have this fairly smoothed off, because you can see how it needs to be smooth. So to do that, you're going to get nice and messy with your fingers, and you're going to mush it down. Or you can use a spoon.
Here, take this and you can
Mush it all down. Yeah.
make it look as smooth as possible.
Right. And also, just as a reminder, that spoon needs to be wiped off before it goes in the sink, because you don't want any of the plaster of Paris cement to go in the drain. What do you think? Some of it will smooth out on its own, because water seeks its own level, so it will seek its own level pretty well.
I feel like that looks okay.
I think you're right. Okay, so we're going to put this off to the side. We're not going to clean it in the sink. Now, the next step which we didn't do with this, or you didn't do with this one, I did it, is you want to make sure there's no bubbles in there. So to do that, you just thump it on all of the sides, all the way around. And some serious good thumping. Do not be afraid, because as you can see, there's little bits of air pockets, and you want to get as many of those out. Which is also part of the fun, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can kind of see them pop too.
Yeah. It's kind of like pancake batter.
They're all right there.
Yep. And some will pop on their own.
Pop.
Yeah. It's kind of
Pop.
fun, huh? Just be sure you don't like thump it into your lap.
Thump it everywhere.
Just don't go like that with it. Right. You could also poke some of them with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just get some of the bubbles out.
Yeah. Because it's one thing also, it looks lumpy, but you don't want it to look lumpy, but also it makes a weak spot in the cement. And if you're going to have it outside, you don't want weak spots.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I'm thinking that looks pretty good.
Yeah? Okay. So, yeah, I think you're right. We're going to put this off to the side, because that was just used to model how to make the mixture. Would you like to get a fresh set of gloves?
Yes.
Okay. You can use your bare hands if you want to. Totally up to you.
Here, so I'll take these. Put on a new pair.
And if you don't have rubber gloves at home and you just want to use your hands, you can. Just be sure you don't wash your hands in the sink. First, wipe them off with a wet towel. Put the towel in the trash.
There we go.
Yeah. All right, so this is one that we just finished making, and it's been able to set for about half an hour. Do you want to just touch it and tell people what you feel?
It feels a lot harder than like when I poured it, and you can see that it's like way harder than like just the mush that it was before.
Yeah. This one here is still pretty soupy. You could almost like pour it out.
Yeah, it looks kind of like slime, and this one's more like clay.
Well said. Well said. However, it is still wet enough so that if you want to put things in it, you can, and it'll stay. If you waited till it was hard, you wouldn't be able to put things in it.
Yeah, because it would be concrete. You couldn't push them in.
Exactly. So this is the right consistency. So as you say, it feels like clay. Okay. Now, the fun part begins again. After we make the big mess, now we're going to make something beautiful out of it. So who is it that you're wanting to remember while you're making this?
It's my grandpa.
Your grandpa Danny that you're named for.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So let's just sort of clear some of the junk out of the way and put some of your treasures out here.
I will explain them as I put them in.
Okay. So of the things that you can put in there, we were thinking you could put a handprint in there, you could put fingerprints in there, although the ridges in your fingerprint wouldn't show. You could put a handprint in, if that's something you would like to do, or you can just freestyle what you want to put in there, which is what I did with our first demo. So let's just talk through what you're going to do.
I think I'm going to take some of the trinkets I have here and just place them in kind of randomly.
Okay, so how about if you just tell about the trinkets as you put them in then?
Okay, so I'll start with the pin.
And tell me about the pin.
So the pin, it says first visit because it's the first time we went to Disney World, which is one of the last like very big trips we went on before he passed away. And I remember how he would always go on all the rides with me, and he'd go on these like really crazy rides with my dad.
Yeah?
Which were like super big. They'd go upside down, twisting, turving. It was really cool.
So did you eat a lot of like colorful food before you went on those rides so that when you threw up it would be very colorful?
Rainbow.
Yeah.
No.
Did you do that? No? Okay. So your grandfather was kind of a daredevil and went on all those rides with you. Nice.
So I'll go with this one next. Here, I'll place that like right here.
Okay.
Press that in.
And you pressed it in so it'll stay in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what makes that What about that makes you think of your grandfather?
So it's one of his fishing lures, and before I was vegan, I used to go fishing with him all the time. So we'd pack a lunch and we'd go out to the water, and sometimes we'd put on music, or we'd talk about like our favorite movies and shows. He really liked the Jackie Chan movies.
Yeah.
And he really likes Disney cartoons too.
That's a mixture. And so even if you're a vegan now, it's fun to go fishing just to have that time. Yeah, to talk and tell jokes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here, I'll go with this one. So I'll put him like, this? Will this work? Yeah, that'll work.
Yeah.
So it's, this is because of Pokemon. So he'd always play Pokemon Go with me, and he'd go on like these special events where you could catch like shiny Pokemon.
Oh, yeah?
And he'd walk around with us, and there's these things called gyms in Pokemon, and basically they're like these things you can kind of take over, and everybody can try to fight you to take the gym.
So it's kind of
So
like the
we-
Jackie Chan stuff too, huh?
So we'd take over like gyms, and Dad actually, he still plays the game, and he has a gift, because you can send each other gifts, and if you send a person a gift, they'll get items. So Dad actually has a gift still from Grandpa in Pokemon Go, and sometimes I think it makes him feel like he's still kind of there.
Yeah. Oh, that's nice. That's really nice. The gift that keeps on giving. Yeah.
Here next we have the Hulk Fist.
Oh, the Hulk Fist. And what does that make you think of?
So my grandpa really, really likes the Hulk. So if we were like playing dress up or anything, he'd dress up as the Hulk. He'd watch the Hulk shows with my mom as a kid. And he'd watch the shows, not the movies. And like every episode, he'd watch the guy just like blow off all his clothes, and then he'd just have the shorts on. And he'd chase us around the house with the Hulk costume on.
I can just see it.
And he'd always laugh so hard as we were running that he had to sit down because he was wheezing. And he'd also wear a lot of Hulk t-shirts.
Neat.
Next we have this white rock. So I'll put that down there.
You can feel it getting harder too, can't you? Yeah. And what does that make you think of?
So my grandpa really likes the beach too. So he'd go to the beach in the fall, even the winter.
Yeah.
And he'd just walk around the beach. And once we went on a whale watch with him. And I don't know who was more excited, Grandpa or John, because John really wants to be a marine biologist.
And John's your brother.
And so John, Grandpa, and I were running around the boat to catch all the whales and seals that were poking out of the water. I think we even saw some puffins.
Oh, really? They live around here?
I'm pretty sure.
Huh. Okay, and then your last.
And this rock is one that we got on the beach.
Okay. Do you think if you licked it, it would still taste like salt?
No.
Yeah, you don't want to try it though.
No.
Okay.
Especially now that it's
Not right
already
now.
in the
No.
plaster.
After all the safety measures that we've taken.
Here, so that is his coin, and it's a dove coin. And before me and him are Christians, and before the pandemic, we'd go to like the church, and my favorite time with him was like the Christmas of like events where we'd like go. There was a ton of lights and stuff. And the dove coin means hope and peace.
Nice.
And I feel like that's a really important thing when you're missing someone.
I think you're right. Hope and peace. Exactly right. Yeah. I bet he'd be real happy you put that in there. Yeah. I bet he'd be real happy to see that whole thing. Do you want to decorate it with some tiles or some sea glass? Okay. I'm going to open this up for you. Now,
I mean, he really likes the ocean, so the sea glass would fit.
that would be perfect. So another thing that we can say to people at home is once you put water to the plaster of Paris cast, you can take your glasses off.
So I can take my glasses
You
off?
can if you would like to. I should have told you that before.
Alright. here, let's find some tinier pieces and we can put them like in between.
Yeah. I like how they have all different colors in there too, don't you?
Yeah, sea glass is really cool.
What do you think is the most rare color to find for sea glass?
I don't know.
I'll bet you it's red.
I don't see any red in here.
You wouldn't see red anyway,
I wouldn't
would you?
see red anyway.
Because we know you're colorblind, right? Which is kind of neat.
Yeah, and Grandpa was also colorblind.
Yeah, so you got that from him, huh?
Here.
I didn't know that about your granddad. This is close to red. It's more orange, so I'm just letting you know.
I can press that in right there.
Yeah.
Drop some of these in.
That's all pretty neat. And for people who are doing this at home, you're going to have these beads already, but you could put any other kind of beads in there,
Yeah,
any other kind of.
You can put anything you want in
Yeah.
here that reminds you of the person.
Yeah, which is what you did, which is pretty cool. So it looks like there isn't quite room to put a whole handprint unless you wanted to mangle everything you put in there. But would you want to maybe put like a finger or something just to put something of your own onto it?
We can.
Plus it's also kind of fun to touch it and see what it feels like. Yeah. Well, you know it's there.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's also little letters, but in the interest of time, you don't want to put the letters in while there's any kind of little bit of scrim of wet around it, because it won't stay. Do you want to try one to see?
I think I'll be okay.
Okay. If we were to put one in there, it would probably not stay, but if we use this on the demo that's already starting to harden up a little bit, let's see what happens. Do you want to do it?
Sure.
Let's just see what happens.
We'll see.
I'll bring this over to you.
So I'll press that.
Yep, you can see the T, but it's not very clear. So it's best to wait until it's pretty hardened up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't really see the 6 either.
No. So you want to make sure that that's all hardened up, which takes about an hour, a little bit more than an hour. Also, if you wanted to, you could write stuff on there. Like you could put your name on there.
Yeah.
You could put dates on there that are important. But we, in the interest of time, aren't going to sit and wait to watch plaster dry. But for people who are doing this at home, if you wait about an hour until this gets nice and tacky, so that it feels like a mud puddle that's been sitting out in the sun for a while, you'll be able to tell when you touch it. And then you can write on it with a blunt point. You wouldn't want to use a paintbrush or something soft like a Q-tip or something like that. You could write in it, you could write your name, you could write your loved one's name, and it would stay. But in the interest of time, we're not going to do that. We'll let you do it later if you'd like. So putting this together, you have a nice testimony to your grandfather. Yeah, who you're named after.
Yeah, it's really cool actually, because my mom's also named Danny.
Right, right. But your mom didn't get the color blindness like
No.
you did. So you got that from your granddad.
Pretty sure.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you very much, Danny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was fun.
Yeah, thank you. And messy.
And messy.
And that's what's fun too.